September 14th of 2005, and our informant guest is Bertha Romero, and she's here to talk about her life and times. And on our student group, we have first
Ann Biedenstein.
From where?
From Centennial, Colorado.
And
Jane Morris from Heidelberg, Germany.
Hannah Brooks from Loveland, Colorado. And Bailey Anderson from Parker, Colorado.
very good. Welcome. Bertha, let's start out about. In fact, you have a very interesting picture there to show, the graveyard picture. Can you show the students here and describe what this picture is?
This is my tombstone for my grandpa.
Feel free to get up and move around if you want.
For my grandpa, Badan. And he died in 1939 and I was born in 1934. But I can still remember when my dad lifted us up to the coffin, me and my sister, so we could see him for the last time. And that still standing. Yeah. I remember my grandpa is buying me my first tricycle, a little dump truck. There was no girls, there was me and Stan.
Right.
And he always bought me toys for boys so I could play with my cousin. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that is a homemade or handmade tombstone, right? And it still stands in a cemetery in where?
In southern Colorado, it's called San Acacio, Sanacacio. It's the oldest town in Colorado.
Oh,
Is that where you grew up?
That's where I was born.
Cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is he the original person of your family who moved here?
Well, as far as I know, they were all born here.
Wow.
You know,
Okay.
so I don't, you know, yeah.
So a few
Long time.
generations.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah. It is
It's amazing.
So then, Bertha, your childhood memories are from where?
from over there.
From over there.
Lived over there
Right.
until I was 11 years old. And then we moved to Greeley, Colorado.
Hi, we're welcoming. Your name is?
Clara. Hi.
Sorry, what is your whole name?
Clara Regneri.
Clara Recknery. Okay, this is Bertha.
Hello.
Okay, welcome. You want to come sit over here? Okay.
I'm sorry, I had a presentation. I couldn't come.
That's fine, welcome. We're just getting started. Okay, so Bertha, let's talk about when you were a child and about life then, which is, how was it so different from life now?
Very.
When you're 11 years old and under, all you think about is play. Play and have a good time.
So
And-
they still
So
think
did you
that.
grow up on a farm?
Well, they used to farm, not big farms, but they had their own acreages and, you know.
And your family had one?
Yeah.
What was your main crop that you produced?
They used to raise cabbage, cauliflower, a lot of grains that I can remember.
So it was for the seasonal purpose.
Uh-huh.
Okay, everybody has to speak up just a little so we can hear. Okay?
And then we just, everything, there was no water, if I remember right. And then we had to move to Greeley because there was no jobs. There weren't any jobs over there anymore, so then we moved over here.
How old were you when you moved up here?
11.
11.
Mhm.
Wow.
And did you do the same thing when you moved to Greeley? You still lived on a farm?
Well, we lived on a farm, but then you went out and worked for people, and I used to follow my mom out in the beet field, bean field. We worked hard. We used to work really super hard. That's all I ever knew is how to work. Yeah.
Wow.
So did you spend a lot of your childhood actually working as opposed to playing?
After we came here,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was different for kids, was it not,
Yeah.
in those times? Can you
Yes.
describe some of that, what work you did and what other kids did? And
Well, I'm the oldest in my family, and there's 4 girls and 1 boy, and so I always was treated like an older boy, I guess, because my dad would even buy me high-top shoes to go work out in the field, you know. And it was hard. It was hard, but I'm thankful that they taught me how to work. I'm 71 years old and I still still work, don't I, Steve?
You do indeed, you really do. And what work as a child, what were you expected to do?
Go work in the field like a man. Because then Irma, my second sister, she would take care of my other sister and stay in the house. That's the way it just went down the line. You know, everybody had to do their share.
They had their place.
Can you describe what a day was like then, a working day, and what you worked on? And
I just got up, ate breakfast, and Mom and I went and worked in the field because my dad was working by the month for the Crowsons. And that's the way it went every day. And then on the weekend, my dad would play baseball, and we'd go to the ballpark on Saturday or something to watch him play.
How long every day did you work?
Probably, I'd say 7, 8 hours. I don't remember
Yeah.
really, but I know it was all day.
Wow.
Yeah, it was hard.
Is that the only place you've lived since you moved to Greeley?
Yeah, mostly in LaSalle.
Yeah.
So how did your schooling fit into all this? Obviously you
We
were
didn't
working.
have very much schooling. They wouldn't make us start school till after we got through with the beads, which is when, Steve, in October?
end of October, something?
Yeah.
Wow.
And in the summer, you start cutting the potatoes early in the spring. And you know, that's school wasn't important, I guess, to the people.
Yeah.
You know, you just went to
You have
work
to
every
have
day
food.
like a grown man.
Yeah.
In terms of how things have changed since then, do you feel that part of it's because of the technology that's changed that has given us, obviously now schooling is a lot higher priority.
Yes.
And do you feel it's because of the technology that's changed or just kind of the mindset?
I think it's mostly mindset, because when I got married and I had my children, it was important for them to go to college because I didn't get an education. To me, it was important that my son and my daughter got an education. And now I have a great-granddaughter, and she's 10 years old, and she's doing high school math already, and I'm very proud. She wants to be a vet, see, so
Yes.
yeah, so we have a lot to look forward now. When we were little kids, we did. So, yeah.
Did you always see yourself as working on a farm or being a housewife or something? You ask little kids all the time, what do you want to be when you grow up? And, did you always think, I'm just going to be doing this? Or?
I guess so, but I'm very thankful that I didn't marry a farmer. Because I like good food and I like homemade food, but my husband, Clyde, started working for Meadow Gold Dairy 2 years after we were married. And so I only cooked 2 meals a day instead of 3 meals a day. Because the farmers have to eat 3 meals a day.
Of course.
Keep their strength up.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy your childhood?
Yeah. That's always good.
Yeah.
It was fun, even though you work, you're young, you don't get tired, and it was fun. Yeah, it was fun.
Wow. How old were you when you got married?
18 years old.
18.
Wow.
Getting married.
Yeah, that's too young. Believe me, that's too young.
Okay, I'll take that advice.
Wow.
The only good thing, I didn't have my kids for 4 years.
wow.
My daughter, we waited 4 years. We knew we wanted a house, we wanted furniture, we wanted a nice house, and we both worked and saved our money and got all those things going so I could quit work. My kids were never stayed with the babysitter. I was always at home with them.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Where did you work to save up money and?
Where else did you go?
Retail and still in the fields. We'd go after we got through working, we'd go do beads for my father-in-law or whatever, just to make extra money, and we'd save it.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
we had a hard life, but it's been a good life.
Oh, that matters.
We'll be married 53 years this September.
Wow. Happy anniversary.
Thank you. Yeah.
So at what age were you when World War II came along?
Well, let's see, what year was that, 1942?
39 to start with, yeah.
Oh. Well, I was born in 34, so I
So
was
you were
what,
just a little
5?
kid.
Yeah,
Do you have a
just-
recollection of that as coming along?
I remember when one of my dad's brothers, he was already in his 40s, and they took him to war.
Yeah.
And I remember when we got 2 telegrams, and the first one he was lost in action, the second one that he was killed in action.
Yeah.
I remember my dad and my mom, it was early in the spring. It was so cold, and then we didn't have just to go turn the heater off. You had to make a fire in your wood stove. I remember they were crying so much. They didn't even make a fire. I remember that, like if it was a couple of weeks ago. And my dad really, really took it hard, I remember.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So,
And life then during World War II, was it things you didn't have and things you did differently?
no, it was still, I think in our household it was always fair,
Yeah.
Dad always worked, Mom always worked. I mean, we always had candy, we never drank pop, I don't even remember having pop.
Yeah?
But candy we did, and we had good food, and, it was just harder then than when we moved over here.
Yeah.
They used to plow with horses, my dad, plant everything with animals, right, Steve?
Mhm.
And we used to have to go pump the water at noon, so when he came home, the horses would have water. It was hard, it was a
Yeah.
hard life,
Yeah.
so,
And harder in the
Yeah.
winter
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
because you had no indoor plumbing?
no, we didn't.
Ooh.
No, you had to go pump your water, heat it to take your bath, and it was hard. Yeah, I remember that too.
So which language did you speak at home? Your
Spanish.
family?
Spanish and English, but mostly Spanish.
Do you still speak Spanish on a regular basis, like at home? And
When you're with the elderly people, you'd rather talk in Spanish. They seem to understand it and enjoy it more. Now, my son is 40-some years old. He doesn't understand a word in English, in Spanish, and he gets mad at us because we didn't
No.
teach him how to talk in Spanish.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't blame him. We should have talked in Spanish to him too, so he could have learned. But like I say, we're a dumb Mexican, I say, because I don't know how to write and I don't know how to read. All I know is how to talk in Spanish. I understand it,
Right.
so.
Wow.
Some people have it backwards.
Yeah, but see, that was my mom's fault, because they could read and they could write. See, so I kind of feel like my son does now. We should have, learned how to read and write. It's important.
Is that because back then, like when your son went to school and such, they just focused on English in school, and so he got English in school, and then there was like no learning Spanish in school
And
like
not,
this?
not Spanish from us, see.
Yeah.
Yeah, he came to school here, CSU, he graduated.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
what did you
Yeah.
major in?
Wildlife biology,
Oh, wow.
so, yeah, he graduated in '88, so.
So what was your social life when you were younger? I mean, most of us can say that like our social life depends mostly on school, and obviously you didn't have that as
No,
much.
I
And,
didn't have that much.
um,
Just work and play whenever you had time.
just meet people from other farms whenever you're working, or
It was mostly all the family that, kind of lived kind of together, and we used to get together in the evenings and play and just have a good time, just like little
Yeah.
kids,
do you think the sense of community was a lot stronger then because of that?
Yeah, I do.
How many people would live together? Like, how big was the town down there, down in southern Colorado?
Just kind of little towns, like
Yeah.
Eaton's, even a little bit smaller,
Oh, okay.
and
Oh, okay.
just small town.
Separated by
Platteville
farms.
and stuff like that, and then all the
A
farming,
lot of open space.
yeah,
Oh.
around you.
So how did you get places? I didn't think like all these towns are spread so far apart.
Well, my
that-
dad always had a car.
Oh,
My
yeah.
dad had a Model A, and then, like I tell you, when my Uncle Ben went to war, my Uncle Ben left him a Chevy. I don't know what year it was or what, but I remember my Uncle Ben living in a car.
So you know, pile in the car.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
really neat.
Then the families were a lot closer than now. We used to be cousins, I mean, we're true cousins. We used to play together all the time. Every evening, every time we had a chance, we were always together.
Did your cousins live with you?
No, we just go
Oh.
over there and play. Andy over, kick the can or whatever. We didn't have fancy games either.
Kind of play
Yeah.
with whatever you had.
What, you just know?
And you make it fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about the time when Bertha lived near the river and there was a flood, just in light of New Orleans. Can you talk about the flood time? You don't think of Colorado as a place where it floods, but
Yeah, we came really close. Well, we lived in LaSalle when my daughter and my son were born. And it just got to be too much to be in the little town of LaSalle, because I had all the little boys in my yard, because I didn't want my son to be going out. And so I told my husband, I says, we have to get out of here. I says, I can't handle all the neighborhood. So we bought a place where it's called Twin Bridges, and it's close to a river. And we moved in 1964, we said, Steve. And I was telling Steve all the bad things we used to do after we got older. We used to come to the dog track all the time, which is on Highway what?
on 25.
On
you're
25.
yeah.
We used to go to the dogs a lot, my husband and I. And this one night, he wanted to go to the dogs. We were about 5 miles from my mom's house. He said, let's go to the dogs. And I said, you go. And I said, I hate to bother my mom all the time to take care of my Brenda and you. And so then he didn't want to come alone, so we stayed home. Pretty soon there's a big knock on the door, and they told us to get out as soon as we could, because we were close to the river and there was a flood coming. And,
scary.
and since we had been out in town all our life, my kids had my son had 2 wild rabbits that he had raised with baby bottles. We had cats, we had dogs, I had a calf. We had all kinds of animals, chickens. We had everything. We lived out in the country. And my brother-in-law just heard about it, and he came with a whole bunch of trucks from the farmers. I told Steve, I bet you it was even the Boulders, Bill and your dad. And everybody just started loading everything in the house. I was telling Steve, but when we came back, nobody came to help. But I even found spices and all kinds of things that were supposed to be on this end of the house. They were in the bedroom, in the underwear drawer or whatever, So, but we didn't lose a thing, but the house did get full of water in the basement. So that was a big experience for us.
But everybody mobilized, came
There you
and
go.
got you moved down.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, if it wouldn't have been that my brother-in-law came with all these trucks, we only had a pickup,
Mhm.
what would we have done,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it showed in the TV that at that time, houses were even rolling in the river or up higher by Brighton somewhere, and that's why
Wow.
we were so scared.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
How big was Greeley back then? I mean, Greeley's pretty big now.
yeah,
It's pretty large.
Pretty urbanized.
Yeah.
I don't have any idea. So,
It didn't begin to grow until after the war,
oh,
Right.
in terms of just sheer population.
Oh,
uh-huh.
okay.
But it's now
yeah.
80 to 100,000, depending on where you draw the line,
Right.
something like that.
Yeah.
So did you share also your rooms with the animals, or had they their barn where they were inside?
Pardon me?
Have you had a barn for them, for the chickens and stuff?
Oh yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You do. You get bunting, you know.
No, her question was that in Europe, I presume you're from Europe somewhere.
Oh.
Okay, that often houses are built above the barn.
Oh,
So she was asking if
Oh.
your house was built that way. That
No,
it-
no,
that-
no.
that it was separate.
no,
separate
no, it was a
built.
house and
Yeah.
the chicken house and blah, 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 you know.
That's good.
But I thought you meant that if we had a bond to our animals, you know, how you
Mhm.
get so attached to your animals, which still I think people do. You know?
Mhm.
Yeah. No, we just, the little rabbits, we let them go.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh.
we figured they had a better chance
Free.
free. You know. But my chickens and everything else we took. So, yeah.
It was sure hard when something was broken also to have somebody who repairs it.
She was asking if I think her question is something to the fact that in times past, if something broke or you needed repairs, did you call somebody to come and fix it?
No, mostly Clyde, big Clyde.
Big light.
Big, because I have Clyde Jr. and Clyde Sr.
But the fact is that you were in self-sufficiency in that world, in the farm
Mhm.
world. If something broke, you
Yeah.
found a way to fix it yourself.
Yourself.
It wasn't possible to get
Mhm.
somebody out to fix everything.
Yeah.
It just doesn't done that way. It was all based on,
Mhm.
you have to fix it yourself, because A, it wasn't affordable, and B, you only had a certain amount of time to get the crops up, and so you had to, whatever broke, you had to fix.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Like I tell Steve, you know, his dad is so bad now. Like I tell you, I've worked for them for 15 years. And his dad was never in the house. I'd go in the house and start cleaning, doing my thing, you know. But 12 o'clock sharp, he's there to eat. That's why I say, see, I was thankful that I was never a farmer's wife. Because when I make food, I like to make good food, but I don't like to get through with breakfast dishes and have to be preparing for noon.
Right.
I like to prepare for 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's how we eat at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah,
Microwave, yes.
yeah.
All right. Can you talk a little bit more about the work you did when you were in the field, and because I don't know that
Mhm.
many here are familiar with the crops and what you had to actually physically do to take care of the crops.
Well, first of all, that I remember learning with my mom taught me how to hoe the beans. Remember, they used to grow a lot of beans. We used to hoe the beans. There's only one crop that I have never done. I guess I just got too old. Was onions, and they work hard now in the onions. But I've done beans. We used to thin beads with a little hoe about like that, and you bend over all day long like this. You just space them about so much, so they have room to grow. And then you hoe them, you know, you pull weeds until in the fall, they pull them out with a tractor, and you went by and chopping them by hand
Huh?
with a beat knife about so. And so it was hard work. It was all hard work, but we enjoyed it. That's all we knew how to do.
Can you kind of pinpoint the time when like technology started catching up with the farming industry and where it would,
Like tractors.
yeah, I mean
and stuff.
tractors. I mean obviously all the stuff you did was by hand, and
Yeah.
most of us can't even fathom that.
I think Steve can,
Well, when you, as you say, it was not just men that were in the fields.
no, was all
It was
women.
it was women in the
Women
field as
too.
well, right?
Yeah,
Who did a lot of the hand labor.
yeah, all.
And what did that do to your body after you'd worked a whole day?
I don't remember.
You don't remember? But it was very, because you were bending over, as you
Yeah.
described. You had a hoe that was
Mhm.
8 inches long or something, and you had to bend over to the
Yeah,
ground
all day.
and go down one row.
And just go back and forth all day long,
Right.
you know. You sit down on the end, drink water, take a little break, and keep going again. You know, that's the way it was. But onions, now the onions, I think they're just as hard as anything that we used to do before. Because I see the people, we have onions right by our house now, and my Lord, they start early in the morning, and they don't quit until they're done on the whole field. And the tractor comes and pulls them out, you know, just kind of get them out of the ground. And then the people come and they use what would, like a shear, right? They cut them with a shear, the top, and then they put them in sacks. Maybe like 2 5-gallon buckets in each sack. And then they wait a few days, and then a tractor with some special kind of loader comes and loads them onto the trucks. See, so that's the easy part there, but, yeah.
So, what did you do when it was dark? Have you had lamps? Lights?
Yeah, we had a kerosene lamp.
Yeah.
Can you describe all the procedure of lighting a house with a kerosene lamp and what's involved in
I
that?
remember only having one.
Yeah.
Everywhere you went, you took the lamp. We used to have a gas lantern, but I would never mess around with it. Irma, my sister, did. She was always braver than me. And, but I wouldn't do it. I would never do it.
No.
I was too much afraid of the gas. So, yeah.
And what, do you remember the first house you had with running water? When you had, or the first time you had a telephone?
Not until after I got married, had the telephone when we lived in LaSalle. Yeah, that was the first time I had the telephone. And,
And can you describe what a party line was? Because I don't think
No.
these ladies have any idea what we're talking
No
about.
idea.
No.
Well, there were so many people in the same line, and if they were talking, you had to wait. You just kept trying, and, you know, if it was an emergency, they just told you, I need the phone. That's how I remember it. I was never a phone person, really.
But the idea was that there were 8 or 10 families
Yeah,
on the same
on the same.
phone line, and you just had to be very polite
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes pushy to get to use the phone. That's how it worked.
Wow.
And that went on until the 50s. Yeah.
I don't keep up with every little thing anymore.
And what about